Welcome, low ego action heroes. This is Debbie Levitt from Delta CX, and welcome to episode 244 Behavior Triggers. Don't forget, if you are interested in our community, our future webinars, our paid workshops, you can find everything at dcx.to. That'll take you everywhere. And of course, a quick thank you to everybody in my Patreon community, all of the people who've joined for free, and certainly the people who are past, present, and future paid Patreon members. The option is yours, and we're just happy to see people joining. Check it out at patreon.com/CXCC. So today, hi Ana Lucia, we've got an old topic that I've written some additional content for, and I want to open up another discussion. Hey Andre, I want to open up another discussion about this. It's been in and out of my space workshop, and I think it will end up in my space video workshop, but not the live one. Just it ends up getting cut for time. So I want to make sure we've got it here. Hey, Sharon. I think Sharon's going to like this one. So, unless you've already heard me talk about behavior triggers, but I added a slide today, and this is a technique that I like to talk about because it's something that you can use for so many things, but certainly for improving conversion, retention, and satisfaction. And when I get there, you'll hopefully start dreaming of ways that you can use it. As always, this is audience participation, so if you have a comment or a question, or you're starting to think about a way that you or your team could use behavior triggers, yell it out in the comments. I'm going to be going through some slides and not looking at the comments, but I've only got 6 slides, and then I'll take a look at your comments and your questions, and we'll go from there. So let me press the button. I've been watching a lot of Mystery Science Theater, so I want to say press the button, Frank. And I'm going to jump in, and I will see your comments and questions after my 6 slides. So Let's talk about some of the stories that we tell ourselves and each other when people don't convert, when our metrics aren't looking so good. We might be looking for traction, adoption, conversion, dollar amounts, frequencies of something or something else. And sure, these are great metrics and we should track them, but I'd like to see tracking and data science moving in a better and more proactive direction. Now, I love to tell a story about something that happened, though at this point it happened before the pandemic, which seems a million years ago, but it's still relevant. In mid-2019, I was trying for over an hour to buy a long weekend cruise online. No matter what I tried, at the very last step of the checkout, I got this generic pink error message that didn't offer me any help or solution. I tried to log in from multiple browsers, but I couldn't buy from any of them. I tried different credit cards that had room on them. I couldn't put a courtesy hold on the trip. I couldn't put a deposit on the trip. I couldn't pay for the trip. I was at a dead end on the cruise website, so I didn't buy the cruise. And of course, the next morning, I got a cart recovery email reminding me to book now. I tried again. I still couldn't check out. I can only imagine the stories that marketing and sales will tell themselves after something like this. Like, customers like Debbie don't have enough money for a cruise, or Debbie just changed her mind, or Debbie's demographic doesn't always buy cruises on their first visit to the website, or we have a lot of people abandoning carts. They're just tire kickers. They didn't intend to buy a cruise. All of this is normal. It's average. But it's lots of guessing and imagination. What do we really know? And more importantly, could we have saved any of those sales? What if we were more proactive? Can we create algorithms to proactively find these customers and put processes into place to proactively help them just in time? Oop. Next slide, me. Okay, here we go. So consider creating what I like to call behavior triggers. Help people before they become sad metrics. Help them before you make incorrect guesses and assumptions about their behaviors. Here are some sample behavior triggers using the previous story. What if the second purchase failure and error message triggered a live help chat from someone who could see through their support interface what I was working on, honor that price, and help convert me into a paying customer? A first checkout attempt makes me look serious and like I'm not just kicking tires. The second checkout attempt is generous of me. Hurry up and save the sale. When things go bad for me a second time, step in while we still have momentum. Once I leave, I might be shopping on a competitor's website. Can the system catch me logging in from more than one browser, trying to buy the same thing over and over? Logging in from another browser sure makes me look like a serious customer trying to give you my money. Save the sale. Can the system notice that I'm trying multiple channels? I logged into my account, so you know who I am. I tried to buy and I couldn't. I called customer support. She accessed my account, so you know who I am. Boom! This customer seems way more serious about buying this as she's tried 2 ways. Save the sale. Maybe don't call people since that's creepy, but you could pop up a little live chat peek, offering a live chat with a human, preferably not a chat bot, but, you can experiment with that. Acknowledge that people are having trouble and offer to help. You can have something just, again, peek up. Don't put a big pop-up. Don't interrupt people's task. Make it very optional, and that way people can close it or engage with it. We don't want to interrupt them, and we don't want to poke them multiple times per session. You don't want to go to multiple pages and have it say, "Ooh, I see you're trying to buy a thing." And because if people don't want help, but they keep setting off the triggers, we want to make sure we're not really bothering them. And of course, bonus points if your chat system or live chat human can see my screen or my cart so they know what I'm trying to buy and the prices the system is showing me. That way you can jump past all of the, "Hey, what are you trying to buy and what price are you seeing?" You should know. Not every behavior trigger should lead to a chat pop-up or an interaction with the customer, but it should create action in your organization. Do you ever worry that a customer exporting or downloading all of their data is thinking of leaving? Set up a behavior trigger to notify someone at your company when that happens. Proactively reach out and see what that customer needs. How about when someone cancels auto renew? That's a bad sign that they might leave. Let's not wait until they leave to learn what went wrong. Reach out as soon as possible and see if that customer can be helped and retained. So thinking about that cruise that I didn't buy, let's try a little bit of sample math because someone might hear about behavior triggers and say, "Oh, this is too expensive, it's not worth it." And many companies might imagine that fixing or improving something to potentially convert 5 customers a day isn't worth it. They're just edge cases. But let's play with a little bit of math. What if 5 people every day, wait, why is I-10 saying yellow? Hello. Okay. What if 5 people every day had the problem that I had on the cruise website? Well, if we do the math, that could be $6 million in lost sales each year. If a behavior trigger cost us $500,000, could it be worth it to potentially save $6 million each year? And what if doing this project decreases the negative micro-influencer word of mouth? What about future sales lost because now I'm not a loyal customer because I never did the first thing? What about the opportunity to upsell stuff? Or, there's so many interesting opportunities that you think about losing once you've lost an initial sale. Because, for example, someone who loved a cruise with this company might sign up for another. What at first seems like a small loss or an edge case can really ripple out to sales worth saving and customers we could win. Now, here come my 2 new slides because of something that's going on for real in my life right now that made me think, ooh, what if there were a behavior trigger on this? So I'm curious what you're all going to think. You've never seen this slide before, even if you've seen me do behavior triggers before. So, American Express credit cards. Let's say that there are customers who typically spend around $75,000 per year. And let's say that some of those customers have been spending way less or calling up to cancel their cards. Of course, This is my story. I spent $75,000 on my American Express cards last year. Yes, I paid it all off. And I plan to cancel my American Express card or downgrade to a free version with no annual fee before the annual fee gets charged again in January. Now, I've got a few reasons for doing this, but I'm not going to go into it. They're not that important. I want to talk about math. I love math. Now, we know that American Express cares about a customer spending $75,000 because they gave me a special perk. Oh, thanks. Thanks, I-10. They gave me a special perk for spending that much in 1 year on my business platinum card. The app even had a visualization with a little, speedometer type of thing of how close I was getting every day to spending $75,000 so I could get this special perk. So that means someone decided this is a good amount for customers to spend. So I looked up a little bit of public data this weekend, and I found that public data from 2023 shows that there are 141.2 million active American Express cards worldwide. On average, each customer spends around 24,000 American dollars each year. And in merchant fees alone, so those are the fees that American Express collects from the vendor when you make a purchase, that turns out to be about, since it's about 3-ish%, American Express makes about $720 per year from each customer's in merchant fees, and they might make a lot more if people aren't paying off their balances every month, and American Express is also getting interest out of people. So a customer spending $75,000 a year is spending 3 times American Express's customer average. So we can imagine why American Express thinks that's a good number to use when offering a special perk. They would make from that customer around $2,250 in merchant fees. Again, not counting interest from people who don't pay their full bills each month, and that could even be thousands of dollars in interest per year, depending upon your spending habits. Yes, so I just said that. So credit card cancellations or spending way, way, way less can seem like an isolated incident. Oh, it just must be random that some people are canceling their cards or not spending that much with American Express. Someone might say, oh, sure, some people have called up to cancel, and maybe it's just the economy. Maybe they don't have jobs. We can tell all kinds of stories when we don't have good research evidence and insights. But at what point should the company care about each incident, especially a huge company like American Express, who's bringing in billions of dollars and has hundreds of millions of customers? At what point do we care? What if 0.001% of total customers were spending $75,000 per year and then canceled their card? That would be 1,412 customers. But that accounts to $4.2 million in losses, plus the interest on unpaid revolving debt for the customers who tend to not pay off their card every month. Is that enough for American Express to care? Maybe, maybe not. Each company will have to decide at what point their churn rates or their retention problems are worth taking action. So Behavior Triggers asks, how early can we catch patterns? How early can we catch every customer who's reducing spending or considering cancellation? Can we take the time to learn why? What do we want to do about that? We can't always get a lost customer back. So we must remember, we can't always get a lost customer back. What would American Express have to offer me for me to keep spending that much? In my particular case, nothing. My problem is around their service. I don't trust them anymore. I'm spending as little as possible with them, and I'm moving my spending to a MasterCard. My change in spending started in June 2024. It's July 2024. And in July 2024, I'll be working on moving all of my recurring monthly charges and service payments over to MasterCard. A behavior trigger for American Express should catch my change in behavior sometime in July, but definitely by the end of August, once there's a clear pattern over a handful of weeks or maybe a month or two. Something would notice my spending pattern changing drastically. Again, this could be algorithms or an interesting use for AI. The company could reach out to me in a non creepy way. Maybe I don't get a phone call going, "Hey, Debbie, we noticed you're spending less. What's up?" Maybe we send a quote unquote routine survey just checking in on my opinions on American Express and maybe my spending patterns. But if American Express doesn't notice this or doesn't care, then in January 2025, they will have lost 7 months of revenue from me, and they will just be learning that I don't want to be a customer anymore. So also think about the timing of this. They could learn close to now that something has changed in how I spend. Financial companies do tend to track this stuff with their customers, but it's often to look for fraud. What if it's to look for changes in behavior that are negatively affecting the customer or negatively affecting the card? What if I'm not the only person who's decided to spend less with American Express because of a trust issue that I won't go into more detail about? So yeah, last slide. An interesting side note here is, can a behavior trigger try to correlate data? We might not know for sure if correlations we find are the cause, but could American Express notice a steep drop in my charges and also notice, here comes the secret, that every dispute I've raised with them in the last 2 years, they didn't find on my behalf? Every time I had a problem with a purchase, I was baited and switched, or I bought something I never got, and I filed a dispute, American Express didn't give me my money back. They stood up for the vendor. Could that be a problem? And even if we're not sure if that's my real problem, is a possible pattern or correlation worth researching to better understand if it'll help us keep customers and save or raise revenue? Oops, there's my cursor. Enjoy it. All right, so let's see. I10 says, it would be annoying. I personally would feel watched and annoyed, but I'd maybe feel better if they offered me a massive discount or extra benefits just to keep me. Yeah, sometimes they offer you some sort of benefit or discount when you're calling up to cancel. Like when I call in January to heavily downgrade my American Express card to one that costs me nothing versus one that has an annual fee, they're probably going to offer me something. They're probably going to say, "Oh, how about 1 month free to stay on this card? Oh, how about something?" But the problem is that doesn't fix my real problem. So if I were driven by the $700 annual fee and they offer me a discount on that, then okay, maybe they get to keep me. But if that's not my problem, then offering me the discount or the perk is not the solution. So we have to remember that that's not going to work for everybody. And I10's certainly right. We want to make sure that we're not doing anything that comes off as creepy. We don't want to call people up. We don't want to do anything that makes them look super watched. Again, it could just be, "Hi, we're sending you a routine survey to check in on your satisfaction or your spending habits or your future spending plans." You can always send out some sort of survey, or you can do a decent qualitative research study that just say, "Hey, we picked you at random to learn more about your relationship with American Express and your spending." And then maybe I wasn't picked at random and you tell a little white lie and you're really trying to find the people who look like they're in danger of leaving. So I think there are non-creepy ways that we can do things. A survey or an interview would be optional. The interview would hypothetically be paid because this would hopefully be a paid research study with an incentive. I noticed most places don't pay for survey responses. That's a separate conversation. But yes, to me, the key in behavior triggers is if you're going to be trying to kind of watch someone's behavior with algorithms or AI or data, something behind the scenes, that if we are reaching out to people, we make sure that it comes across as helpful or random, and not creepy and or stalkery or things like that. Sharon says, for online triggers, are there standard metrics to optimize the balance between helpful and annoying? Yeah, I think that's going to be different for different companies and teams and products. You're going to have to figure it out. Like, for example, American Express has nothing they can pop up online for me. This is stuff that's happening to me outside of an online experience. It's a service-based experience, and they're not going to know if they're not watching my spending habits for something other than fraud. They're not going to know that I'm dissatisfied until I call up and go, cancel this puppy. But if they saw me, if a company saw me export all my data or cancel auto renew or start spending a lot less, that could be a hint. So I think that so you're asking about standard metrics to optimize the balance between helpful and annoying. It's just going to be so different for each company. And I think you just have to experiment with it. If you sent a survey out to people, did they feel annoyed by that? If you offered them an opportunity to take part in a research study where there'll be a half-hour interview with someone, do they say yes to that, or does that seem annoying? I feel like this is a great use for AI to find these hidden patterns. It could be. When I first wrote these slides, I was using the words algorithms, and I think that in many ways we are still saying algorithms, but it could be something in AI as well. I10 says, I think they see, but they don't get alarmed until they see a big pattern among a high number of customers. Yes, and I think that's why my question on one of the slides in the middle was, what is our threshold? If you're waiting for 100,000 American Express customers to have a problem, okay, but does that mean if 99,000 have a problem, that this is just fine? If 50,000 have a problem, that this is just fine? If 100,000, if 10,000 have a problem? So I encourage each team and company to think about what is the number at which they are monitoring certain types of behavior. And if it's financial, then it's outside of fraud. You're not just watching my account for charges that might look fraudulent. Like, I actually got a fraud alert the other day. Pierre Mario signed up for one of my new Maven courses. Check him out at dcx.to. I've got courses on product market fit, on strategizing products, on writing and public speaking, and on planning qualitative research. My husband signed up for one of my courses, and my own credit card blocked it as fraudulent. I had to go in and say, nope, this is real. So that sucked, because it was Maven, who I'm sure must do some sort of volume of transactions, and it was my MasterCard, which has certainly seen people buy online courses before. So we know they're watching for fraud, and my question is, can we watch for other things, especially as they relate to a lot of the metrics companies tend to care about, the earlier metrics? We can look later at total revenues or customer lifetime value or some of the more lagging metrics. But what about early on? What are some hints early on that people might be unhappy with us and aren't saying anything? Because I am unhappy with American Express, but I didn't call them up to say so. I just decided I'm not going to buy stuff there. If they're not going to stand behind me on a dispute on a charge where it was clearly bait and switch, or I never got the item, or some other thing that is clearly not my fault, if they're not going to stand behind me on these very clear-cut, obvious things, I don't want to put the charges there. I'll put the charges on another card and see next time I have a problem. Does that company take care of me? So I10's right that sometimes we don't care until it's happening to a larger percentage of customers, but by then it's definitely more of a cancer. It's more of a systemic problem, and by then it might be something that is harder to solve. We might be losing a lot more customers because it's something that's happening to 10, 20, 30% of people. So I think another interesting side effect of behavior triggers is that you might be able to catch some of these things before it's 10% of your customers or some larger number that normally would be the amount of people you would need to give a crap, but I think we could give a crap earlier, not only to save sales and reputation and customer lifetime value and things like that, but also to see it coming before it's happening to a larger group in our audience. So yeah, thanks for these great comments and thoughts. Anybody else have comments or questions? I should check LinkedIn. LinkedIn hasn't been showing up on my screen lately on these questions. I apologize for that. Let me jump over to the LinkedIn stream and see if there are questions. Someone says hello. Okay, hello. Hello to the people watching live on LinkedIn. I10 says it might affect more could-be customers by word of mouth, as in unsatisfied customers would talk about their dissatisfaction. Absolutely, and that's why if you can use those behavior triggers and save some of these relationships earlier, then it's less likely that Debbie is on YouTube and LinkedIn Live going, I'm mad at American Express and I'm going to try to stop spending my money on their cards. Because now I've told tens, hundreds, thousands of people that I'm dissatisfied. That is definitely negative word of mouth, and it only took me seconds to do. And sometimes I find that negative word of mouth ripples out in that I10 says, well, I don't give a crap about American Express, but a friend of mine is thinking about getting a card, and I'm going to tell them about Debbie's experience. So now, my negative experience ripples out even further to even more people. I10 says good relationships bring more relationships. That's right. And bad relationships can certainly affect current and future relationships because, no, I don't want to get an additional American Express card for my husband. No, I don't want to sign up for some other thing. I'm going to go start spending money with someone else. Some of you might have seen my LinkedIn post where I signed up for a Capital One Venture X card, and that experience was actually worse. I canceled it within a week of getting the card. So I am looking for a company that wants me and doesn't suck. And maybe my current MasterCard is the winner. Who knows? Any other thoughts or questions about more proactively saving conversion and retention and relationships with something like behavior triggers? And if you're just joining and you're like, what's that? You'll have to go back to the beginning of the video to watch it. I10 says, I saw your LinkedIn post about Amazon or eBay once, and God bless for their bad work, because that's how I got to know you. Well, thank you. I'm grateful for that. Ana Lucia says, I was here thinking about the amount of people I see daily asking for advice about where to move their bank accounts to avoid fees. And then I see the bank's not caring about that. I've been trying to open a bank account here, not with American Express, with another institution. And they keep emailing me saying, please send your identification documents. I send them my identification documents, and then I get an email like 2 weeks later, like, we couldn't read your identification documents. And it's like, well, that doesn't make sense. You took a picture of them with your web-based phone thingy, then you said the picture looked clear. The picture looked clear. Why can't you read them? And they've now emailed me 3 times asking for identification documents. And if they email me again, I'm going to say, forget it. I don't want a bank account with you. Why is this so hard? I'm emailing you. I'm taking a picture of the documents. I'm emailing you the documents. You should have these documents by now. Sharon says, FYI, you're right. I'm digging this topic. Thanks for bringing it up. Yeah, sure. I was happy to see you here. I figured, this was a good one for you and some of the things you work on and the way you think about things. So great that you happen to be here today. Reminder that next Monday's webinar is about Axure, because with Figma being a little funky, some people are asking me, is Axure really that hard to learn? No, especially not to do the things that Figma does. Axure gets harder to learn when you try to do things that are harder to do than what Figma does. But we're going to talk about that on Monday, July 22. I'm going to show you how to do some of the basic and intermediate things with Axure that you're doing now with Figma and show you that that learning curve is not so curvy. Ana Lucia says, they also asked me that when I got unemployed. Can you guess what they did later? And yes, they had the information that I was out of the job. They started charging me fees. Amazing. Yeah, absolutely. I don't even know what to say about that, and it sucks, and I'm sorry. So yeah, so not good. Very not good. So yeah, so there are some banks out there that I like. I am having some good experiences. There are some credit cards out there that I've been having good experiences with, but I also haven't had to dispute a charge in a long time. So I don't know if that company will stand behind me when the chips are down, as they say. So we'll have to see. Hey, Adair, how's the new job going? Adair got a job, everybody! Hooray! Um, yes. Don't forget to like and comment and subscribe. Yeah, so if nothing else, the behavior triggers lesson doesn't tell you exactly what to do. It doesn't say step one, do this, step two, do this, step three, measure this. It's really just meant to be an impetus, a catalyst for critical thinking about different things that you could measure and ways that you could use algorithms. And again, maybe you don't reach out to people. Maybe it just sparks internal conversations about behaviors that you think the data is pointing to. And maybe it sparks internal conversations about should we spin up some research to better understand these behaviors or why they might be happening so we're not guessing. So far, so good. Cool. Ana Lucia says, unfortunately, it seems these behavior triggers may be somewhat controlled in a few companies, but not in a good way. They use them to punish customers instead of rewarding them. Yeah, obviously, I think y'all know me well enough that if you are using behavior triggers or anything like them to penalize people, to overcharge them, to nickel and dime them, to do something deceptive, to do something unethical, to do something unfair or not humane, then it's a giant fuck you from me. I don't want you to do that with behavior triggers. The idea of behavior triggers is to do fair, ethical, helpful things that help the customers in some way, hopefully proactively solving a problem they're having, and help the business in some way by improving metrics, improving conversions and retentions. I do not want things like this or anything on the planet used to hurt people. I think you all know that about me. I am certainly not recommending behavior triggers, so you can figure out which of the people in your customer base just lost their job and start charging them more. No, do not want. Oh, good. This message came up. I just made it this weekend. Yeah, don't forget to check out our new cohort-based courses. You can find them at cxcc.to/cohorts. They are open for registration and they will be happening in September, October, and November. So you've got some time to decide. And if you are part of our community and you would like a discount code, just ping me. I've got discount codes for everybody. But unfortunately, Maven doesn't let me make global codes. So I have to give you a code for you for the course or courses that you want. It's one thing that's not great about Maven. So I will happily personally give you a discount code if you reach out to me, however you like to reach out to me. That could be email, that could be through Slack or Discord or LinkedIn, you pick. Okay, so we've been hanging out together for over a half hour. I like to try to keep these webinars a little bit short, so I'm going to wrap up for now. Remember, I'll be here tomorrow for Q&A AMA. If you have a question you want to ask ahead of time, send it on in. That will be at 6:30 p.m. Italy time. I haven't rescheduled these yet. Depends what happens with jobs with me. I'm still looking for a job, but for now we'll do these at this time. And don't forget, next Monday, we're going to be talking about Axure and Figma, and I'll be showing you how low the learning curve is for Axure, especially if you already know Figma. So everybody have a super Monday, and I hope to catch you tomorrow. Thanks, and bye.